Well, happy Friday evening, everyone. Welcome to the program. This is not yet the program. As most of you already know, this is just the pre-show. This is where we get set up for the first 3 minutes, and at 3 minutes after the top of the hour, we go out live to the radio station.
Can you see how many people are watching?
4 right now, at least in here. So, 3 minutes after the top of the hour, we go live. So welcome, everyone. Sean Stroik, good to see you. Give me something good tonight, Scotty Roberts. I need a reprieve for the day. We'll do our best. I'm an alien, so yeah, I'm real, says Grumpy Stack. I believe you, Grumpy. I do. Say hi, Ellery. Say hey to Grumpy.
Hi.
Say, hey, Grumpy. Use his name.
Hi, Gumpy.
Gumpy. Gumby. Hey, Gumby. I'm Gumby, damn it. I'm grumpy, damn it. To quote Eddie Murphy, to paraphrase Eddie Murphy. Let's see, I'm going to make sure that we are flying everywhere else. We've got about a minute and 40 seconds, and we go live on the radio station. There, we're going there. And I think we are probably also going on Patreon. And patreon.com/Scotty Roberts. You can go on over there and you can join my Patreon. That helps fund this process here. And if we build up enough people, just imagine the things we can do with this radio show and videos and all kinds of stuff like that. So we got about 2 minutes or 1 minute left, and we go live over on the radio station. So everybody, get yourself ready. There we are. We're there.
I like the glue stick.
Yeah, don't lick the glue stick.
It's not toxic.
Why would you lick it? Gross. It's 9:02 and 15 seconds. So in 42-ish seconds, we go live over on the radio. Hi, Ellie, says Grumpy. He's grumpy, damn it. And Sarah Yusuf is here. Good to see you, Sarah. And in just a few seconds, we'll go, those of you who don't know, we'll go dark just a few seconds before we go live. So, Elderberry, you can have my phone, but you got to get out of the room. Okay? Go in the other room. See ya. Bye. It's time. Now, go. We're going dark. Bye. Be right back.
Intrepid radio program with Scotty Roberts. Intelligent talk.
Well, happy Friday evening, everyone. Welcome to the program. I'm your host, Scotty Roberts, and this is my show, the Intrepid radio program, broadcasting to you live over on OdysseyRadio.com. That's an audio format only because it's radio, and that's Odyssey, ODYSY radio.com. Go on over and listen to us live there. You can watch the simulcast in video over on my YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Scotty Roberts. And over on my Patreon channel. That's patreon.com. If you don't know how to spell that, Patreon, patreon.com/Scotty Roberts. And you'll get there. And while you're there, please do us a favor. Take a look at becoming a member over there. That will help us expand things over here. And I appreciate some new members today. And thank you very much if you're listening right now. And here we go. We're going to talk about this whole alien thing that's going on in Congress right now. Why is Congress, do you say, having hearings on aliens? And I see some people out there that kind of put their tongue in their cheek and they kind of roll their eyes a bit. Why is Congress having hearings on alien life and UFOs? And what's funny is up to this point where this has started, everybody's kind of like, hey, it'd be kind of nice to know if our government knows anything about UFOs and aliens. And now they look at this as trite. Why on earth, that's kind of a funny way to put it, why on earth would we want to be interested with our government in whether or not there are aliens and alien contact and UFOs and things like that? So I think it's because we all know there's more to this universe than just us. Let's preface this all a little bit by talking about where you come from on either a faith level or a scientific level or a skeptical level, whatever level you come in on or whatever angle you come in on the whole UFO alien question. You've got a certain set of beliefs that you have about it. And I say belief because none of us knows for sure. And so we accept certain things either by faith. By faith, we say, hey, I believe that there are aliens out there. I believe there's other life out there. Then you've got your scientific type that will say, yeah, I'd love to believe that there's other life out there. However, we don't know yet. I want evidence. I want to see evidence that that exists. And then we also have, on the other hand, people who will say, you know what? I believe there's got to be other life out there. I just don't know what kind of life it is. Is it life like we would know it? Is it a Star Trekian universe out there where just about everybody has, a body, 2 arms, 2 legs, a penis, a vagina, all those things, but they all have different funny shaped heads and eyes? Is that what alien life is like? Is there what's the good word for this? Not you know what I'm saying? Equanimate, habita. An equal distribution of evolution across the universe. Would there be life on other places, in other places across the universe that are like us, or would they be completely different from us? Would they have, we can say, and there are those who believe that there's life out there in the universe, but they say it's probably not like we are, meaning maybe it's animal life, maybe it's biological life of some kind, but not humanoid life, not life that has reason like we do. Take all the crap we want to say about the human race and all the bullshit we do to each other and all the wars and all the killing and all the crap that's gone on for millennia in the human race. Move the bad stuff apart, but just say, look, the human race has reason. We have the ability to make tools. We have the ability to not just make tools. A chimpanzee can pick up a stick and eat ants with it. That's a tool. He's using a tool. But can he go, I'm going to build a factory that manufactures the right kind of stick at just the right dimensions. I'm going to mass produce them, and I'm going to sell them for a price to my fellow chimpanzees. We haven't seen that happen yet. I think that's where reason kicks in over simple animal biology. So there are things that the human race can do. So is life out there like us? Meaning, do they wear clothes? On their clothes, do they print the logos of their favorite company or their favorite alien sports team? What we're starting to see now is the very real possibility that they have the ability to build spacecraft, interstellar or interdimensional. And science has always said, well, there can't be other life out there that can travel to us. The UFOs we see, that's not from other galaxies or other places because the distance is just too far. And you can't travel. We already know by science, the science we understand, you have to travel at a certain speed to be able to make those distances. But then at a certain speed, the speed of light, everything changes. So how do you overcome that? We don't have the ability, we don't have the knowledge, we don't have the tech to do that other than in fiction and our imaginations. So the big question is somebody out there, and not just out there, do they have the ability to build spacecraft? And if they do, what kind of life are they? What do they want? I was talking to my daughter, Abby, last night, and we were talking about this stuff. And I said, the big question between us is, what do they want? If there actually are aliens that are visiting us, from other places in the galaxy or the universe or even a dimension. What do they want? Maybe they're just like us. They want to know things. They say, look, we know there's something there. Let's explore. Or are they out there just ran across us by mistake? Are they out there because they are the new wave of intergalactic conquistadors? Perhaps they're here looking for resources. Perhaps they are here to find out if we're conquerable. How would they know we existed in the first place? Did they stumble upon us by chance? Have they been observing us? Have they been here before? I know I wrote in my book on the rise and fall of the Nephilim, I spoke about alien life. And because what do you have in the biblical text? Let's go there for a second. You've got in the biblical text, you've got prophets and people who wrote these things down in those texts that say, and we encountered God. We encountered, or gods in other cultures. We encountered angels or demons or everything in between. Is that simply what the label they put on what they were experiencing because they had no other point of reference? If they saw a celestial being come down from the sky, would they know that to be somebody from another planet, somebody from another world, another galaxy? Did they even know what galaxies were at that point in time? And we're talking ancient times. Did they know these things? No, not the way we do today. So how did they define what they encountered? They defined those things by what they knew and understood. The God of the mountain has sent somebody down. The God of the sky has come down to visit us. And so you've got all these, who said star seeds? John H.R. Piper. John, good to see you here tonight. And so is there a star seed? Remember, we are also finding that meteorites that have hit our planet, we're finding that there are fossils of bacterial life in them. Where did they come from? If there's bacterial life out there. So we know there's life on certain levels out there already. And I'm going to hail one more time to, an old story by now, the Hubble telescope, where they took the Hubble about 12 years ago, pointed it to the sky, the size, if you hold up your hand to the sky about the size of your pinky fingernail. They held that out there. And in that little tiny area in the sky, they took over 10 days some infrared pictures. And in the vastness of the sky above our heads, something that small at the end of your fingertip held up to look at the sky. What did they find in there? Found over 10,000 galaxies. Remember, our solar system is in the Milky Way galaxy. So they found 10,000, not an exact round number. Wow, that's crazy. There's 10,000 galaxies in there. About 10,000 galaxies. Now take that number, take that little pinky fingernail up at the sky and spread them out. Fill the whole sky with your pinky fingernails and exponentially do the math. If you have 10,000 in that size, what do you have when you fill the sky with those? And the calculations are off the scale that there are millions of galaxies out there, if not billions. And what's housed within galaxies? Stars, solar systems. Our solar system is housed within the Milky Way galaxy. But we already know we're not the only solar system in the galaxy. We just can't travel and visit any of them. We don't have powerful enough telescopes to zoom in, but we see that there are stars that have planets orbiting them. So you've got all of that going on. So exponentially, the number increases again. If you've got billions of galaxies out there, how many solar systems are there within a galaxy? Multiple billions times billions. That gives you an idea of what's out there. And so, like the old line from the book Contact, written by Carl Sagan, and the movie as well, Jodie Foster and who else was there? Matthew McConaughey. she's sitting with her dad as a little girl, and they're looking at the stars. They're talking about the potential of all the life out there. And her dad says to her, "Wow, if there is no life out there, it's an awful lot of wasted space." So let's get this out of the way. From a faith standpoint, let's say you are a Christian or Abrahamic religion, you might look at that and say, well, God created the vastness of the universe, and the earth is unique because he made humans, breathed into them the breath of life. The big question would have to come up, why did he do that here? Richard Feynman, contemporary of Oppenheimer and Einstein, astrophysicist, theoretical physicist, said once, he said, here, that God should come here in one of his manifestations. Come here seems to me, he said, to be too local, too provincial. I add perhaps a bit colloquial. Why would he choose this place to do it? Or are we just experiencing it because he did choose this place? That's why we are here to ask that question. Did he create life elsewhere? Or is there something else? Is there more? Is there more? And it makes you question. This morning I was asked by Kenny Ballos, what would that do to your religious faith, especially if you're of an Abrahamic religion, if you learned that there were beings from other worlds? Would that make your faith crumble? Would it make your faith strengthen? You go, hey, for me, I got to tell you, it wouldn't change my faith at all. It would expand it. You go, wow, there's a whole something else out there. The questions of salvific nature. Did Jesus have to go die on all those other planets to redeem people? You know, I've heard Christians bring that up. I think that to me, that's a silly question. I push that aside. Because they're trying to gauge the whole universe by one written book or a series of books. So faith questions are going to be out there. They're always going to be out there. And so before we move on, I just want to say hey to people. Welcome everybody that's here in the chat room. If you're listening on radio, you can go over to the YouTube channel and join the chat room with the fellow Intrepids. Hey, Barbie D and Sarah Youssef. Susie Q is here. Who else? We got John Piper, Matthew Sainsbury from Barbados. Captain Barbados, we call him. And who else we got in here? Randall Flagg is here. He says it's really mind-blowing. If we could only access all that raw energy. Yeah, truth. Elderberry is here. Good to see you. Michelle Canham Freedom is here. Good to see you, Michelle. Sean Stroik is here. Anybody else who has spoken up? There's more people here than that. Just not everybody said hi. Claudette is here. Good to see you, Claudette. Glad you could make it in. And blah, blah, blah. I'm just scrolling through to see who all is here. And to say hey. I think I said hey to Elderberry already. So there's more of you. If I missed you, it's not for any reason other than I haven't seen you yet. Grumpy Stack is here, of course. And Sean Stroik is here. So, and there's a bunch more of you. And there's more listening on radio. So come on in if you want to be part of this, if you want to be part of the discussion, because we'll carry this on in the captain's cabin a little bit later when this show ends over on the radio station. So I've got a lot of stuff. I wanted to talk about the hearings. So my prelude to talking about the hearings was talking about, why do you think it's important? I've been talking about alien life for a very long time. From a fictional standpoint to a curiosity standpoint, never one of really being in the know. Do I know? I'm not an experiencer, as they call contactees. I haven't experienced that. There's some that are in this chat room. There are people that I've brushed elbows with over the years. I was telling my daughter Abby last night about some of the people I've known and some of the people I've met, even though I am not big into the UFO community and the alien community and the contactee community. I have brushed elbows with those people. I've mentioned here that I knew Dr. Stanton Friedman. If you're familiar with Dr. Friedman, he is the late Stanton Friedman. He wrote some of the first big books on Roswell. Very big in alien discovery. I've only brushed shoulders with Stephen Greer. Don't care what you think about him. If you like what he does, doesn't like what he does. Some people say, oh, he's a fraud. And you get that all the time. I don't care who is what and who criticizes. I don't give a good goddamn fat rat's ass about what somebody's opinion is about somebody else. But I will say this, Stephen Greer, he's big on the Disclosure Project. And there was one time I met him. I was at a big event with Micah Hanks. And it was an event that was closed to the public. And a couple of hundred people there that were all practitioners in these fields. And it was thrown by a guy out in Pennsylvania. And we're sitting on a bus, a nice bus, like a tourist bus, waiting to be driven over to the facility for the dinner. And I'm sitting next to Stephen Greer. And he was talking about disclosure. This was all back in November of 2012 was when I met him. Now, he might remember my name, but he doesn't know me from Adam. So it's not like we're buddies, but I got to meet him. I've gotten to meet people all throughout the UFO and the alien question. Whitley Strieber. When my book on the Nephilim came out, Whitley Strieber called and asked me to be on his show. And he interviewed me for my book. And I said, I should be interviewing you. He's the one who wrote the book Communion and a couple of books after that, Transformation and other things. You might be very familiar with Whitley Strieber. So all of this stuff, there are good people out there. There are weird people out there. There's all kinds of people that are backing these things up. The alien disclosure we're seeing now has come from whistleblowers. Why are there whistleblowers on the UFO issue? That's because they see these things firsthand in what they've been working on. And they said, this needs to be revealed to Congress. It needs to be revealed. And these are, by the way, the three whistleblowers you saw. Grouch, we talked about him a few weeks ago when he first came out with his whistleblowing allegations. He and a couple of other guys, they are very well known in their military fields, long track records of being very honorable men and promoted to their duties. The positions they're in now because of their personal integrity. And so when people come on and go, that Grouch, he's a hack. He's just lying. He's making this shit up. You don't make shit up at that level of integrity. Can you? Sure. We've known people who are presidents, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, who make shit up all the time. So, yeah, you can be in a high office, a high position in life, but his was different. He wasn't an elected official. He was a military personnel that raised up through the ranks and always had integrity, always had very good reputation. And so have all these other guys. So now they've come out and Congress has wanted to do a hearing on this. Why? Because there is enough question. One of the basic questions that was put forward, or issues that was put forward, was the United States government's possession of alien spacecraft. And that this Grouch said, when asked directly under oath in front of a Senate hearing, said just this week, he was asked, were there bodies found? And he said, yes, there were biologics that were not human. Boom. What do you think of that? Sean Troik says, I don't trust much of anything these days. Was that the same day as the Hunter Biden? I don't know. I don't care. See, now somebody brought that up, and I have said, is this a distraction to get us away from the Hunter Biden thing? You know what? And I'll answer this to you, Sean, and anybody who asks that question. And I think people would have to be pretty dumb to say, oh my gosh, There's an alien hearing. I've now forgotten about all the Hunter Biden BS. Who's Hunter Biden? It doesn't work that way. It might be used as a distraction by somebody. I don't think the issue is a distraction. It has been around far too long. And there are both sides of the aisle that are in these hearings. I don't think these hearings were held to coincide with any investigations of Biden or Hunter Biden. I don't think so. That's my take. No insult to you, Sean, because I hear a lot of people asking that question. You can do, believe it or not, some of the people in Congress can do two things at the same time. Although some days it doesn't seem like it. I think that there can be a big issue like the presence of alien life, having alien ships and things like that can coincide with other nasty investigations going on. Happens all the time. More than one thing happens at the same time in our world. That's the way I view it. So I'm not really too concerned about that, Sean. I know that question might come up. I don't have a lot of trust for my government either. But if you've watched these hearings, you'll see they're sincere questions. I haven't watched the whole hearings. I've only seen bits and pieces of it. But let's cover that. Let's see, what the heck are they talking about when they are when they're looking at all of this? Let's see. I've got here the 5 most memorable moments from Congress's UFO hearing. And these hearings this week were where former military officials made a series of mystifying claims about unidentified aerial phenomena under oath. And it was at Wednesday's congressional hearing. I think there should be more hearings. So these 3 former military officials told Congress on Wednesday that they believe the government knows much more about UFOs than it's telling the public. Now that, Sean Stroik and others, that's where I would find the government hard to believe and untrustworthy. We've had things kept from us. Now it's guys like this whistleblower and the people pushing alien disclosure that have started to really push this into the fore. So a House Oversight Subcommittee held a hearing on UFOs, and officially known as unidentified aerial phenomena, or UAPs, they're calling them now. And they heard mystifying testimony about unexplained object sightings and government possession of non-human biological matter. And lawmakers on the committee. Now, you could say, well, maybe it was a dead squirrel. That's non-human biological matter, right? I think that's not what they were getting at. They were talking about the pilots of these things. So lawmakers on the committee were baffled by some of the testimony and repeatedly noted that the UAP sightings are an issue of bipartisan concern and that they raise national security questions. The question of China, the question of other powers in the world, the back engineering of these things. This is all being done. Why are we concerned about it? Because why would it be a national security issue? Because what if somebody that, face it, folks, they exist, our enemies in this world, got that technology and used it? So the United States has been involved in it for at least 6 decades, as far as we know. So maybe 7, since almost the end of World War II, that we know of. So separately, some accuse the federal government of endeavoring to conceal key UFO-related information from the public, though they didn't provide evidence to support the allegations. And the sheer number, this is a quote now, the sheer number of reports, whistleblowers, and stories of unidentified anomalous phenomena should raise real questions and warrant investigation and oversight. And that's why we are here today. That's what Representative Robert Garcia, who is the top Democrat on the subcommittee. He said this in his opening statement. UAPs, he went on, whatever they may be, may pose a serious threat to our military or civilian aircraft. And that must be understood. Now, these UAP sightings, when I say UAP, interchange UFO, same thing. These UAPs, isn't it funny in the modern day, we always got to rename things They've been UFOs for 75 years. Now they're UAPs. But experts say they might be attributable to balloons. We've heard all this. Drones, optical illusions, blinking lights of a commercial airliner. And the Pentagon has said that they've seen no evidence linking UAPs to alien activity. That's what they said at the Pentagon, though they've not ruled out that explanation. And what's interesting, if you look at Nick Redfern's book, Final, it's not Final Solution, it's Final something. Now I can't think of it. But he talks a great deal about the Collins Elite, which is a group within the Pentagon that's been seriously, for decades, studying the alien question, the UFO question. But the Pentagon doesn't take it seriously. Yeah, I don't believe that for a minute. Now, there's 5 things I said of the witnesses' main claims at the hearing that you can use as takeaways here. Here's what these hearings were all about. And here's the things that came from that hearing. Number 1, government is absolutely in possession of UAPs or UFOs. They already are in possession of them. Absolutely. So David Grush, this former U.S. intelligence officer, told the panel that he's absolutely, and they put that in quotes, absolutely certain that the federal government is in possession of UAPs. And he cites interviews he said he conducted with 40 witnesses over a 4-year period. And the former U.S. intelligence official said he led Defense Department efforts to analyze reported UAP sightings and was informed of a multi-decade Pentagon program that endeavored to collect and reconstruct crashed UAPs. I don't think this is the Collins Elite. The Collins Elite was something more on a, lack of a better word, a philosophical level, trying to sort the problem out. But there's a Pentagon program that collected and reconstructed, back engineered crashed UAPs. So asked by Representative Jared Moskowitz, Democrat from Florida, how such a program is funded. I saw this part of the interview or of the hearing. And how do they fund this stuff? We don't see it in any of our documentation for funding. And Grush claimed that the effort is above congressional oversight. Quote unquote, above congressional oversight, and bankrolled by a misappropriation of funds or a reappropriation of funds that we aren't aware of, that Congress is not even aware of. You ever stop to think for a second? Why? Remember all the stuff we heard in the news about 20 years ago about how the government was paying for a hammer, a regular old claw hammer that you could go buy at the hardware store for $12. Claw hammers costing the government $15,000 amongst great lists of what looks like inappropriate spending. That'll give you a little hint as to where money's going. Hammers don't cost $10,000 to $15,000. You think some of those funds were funneled off for something else? So the Moskowitz continued his question. Does that mean that there's money in the budget that's set to go to a program, but it doesn't, and it goes to something else? Like, I gotta ask a silly question. Do you think there's funds we've appropriated that don't go to where we appropriated them to? That's kind of a dumb question if you ask me. I think that happens every day in government. And Grush said, yes, I have specific knowledge of that, Grush said, though he didn't provide more details, claiming the information remains classified, which is fine. I think he said that he could reveal some of that under classification, but it was classified. He couldn't talk about it. So that's the first point that you take away, is that the government, what happened in these hearings, we find the government is absolutely in possession of UAPs or UFOs. And they've been, according to Grush, back engineering them for years. Remember Bob Lazar? He wasn't part of these hearings, But you remember Bob Lazar, who worked at Area 51 and started 25 years ago talking about his experiences at Area 51 and seeing alien spacecraft back engineered. He just did a documentary. He was on Joe Rogan. It's got to be a couple of years ago now, but it seems very recently. You should go watch it. Look up Joe Rogan's show, his interview with Bob Lazar. It's going to blow your mind. Bob Lazar isn't this charismatic character. He said he was totally satisfied to never talk about it again the rest of his life. And he said the only reason he started talking about it again a few years ago, he said, because for my safety. He said, frankly, I'm talking about this stuff because I would rather get it out there and that protects me because I reveal what I know and it's there and it's out there. If I should mysteriously disappear, you know why, kind of thing. Second thing from the hearings, non-human biologics. I'd never heard the word biologics before this, used in this context anyway. But biologics, non-human biologics were found at a crash site of a UFO. Grush, who underscored that he's not personally spotted a UAP, told the panel that he knows of multiple colleagues who were injured by UAPs. He also said that he's interviewed individuals who've recovered non-human biologics from crashed UAPs. Grush said he prefers to use the term non-human rather than alien or extraterrestrial, but he's using that interchangeably. Biologics, non-human biologics, he's saying, instead of alien or extraterrestrial. They wouldn't let them use the skiff. There it is. But maybe Joe Biden, when he was a senator, stole one of those. I don't know. Sorry, politics. We'll stay away from that. It was a joke, folks. A joke. Ching. So, asked by Representative Eric Burleson, a Republican from Missouri, to substantiate the crashed UAP's claim, the former intelligence officer, Grush, said that he would not divulge specific details, once again claiming the information was too sensitive to share with the public. He did, however, describe the nature of what he saw. He says, I have to be very careful here. But what I personally witnessed myself and my wife was very disturbing. So now there's a Pentagon spokesman told NBC News that Grush's claims are false. So what do you do with that information? So, the Pentagon said he's lying, so or he's false, he's misinformed. Oh, whew. Well, I guess it's all for nothing, right? I don't buy that. There's too much out there. Now, third thing, officials have to establish a safe and transparent reporting process. This is what they were pushing for. Yeah, do they have tribbles? Maybe. Randall Flagg asks. So some lawmakers and witnesses pushed the federal government to establish clear channels to communicate UAP information with both the public and the military, and said that the military should establish a comprehensive reporting process for unidentified object sightings. So they're pushing for this. Ryan Graves, a former Navy pilot, was on this panel. He told the panel that the military pilots do not feel adequately briefed on UAPs, which he says leaves them unprepared to respond to UAP encounters. And the former Navy pilot claimed, and I put proclaimed out of that. The former Navy pilot claimed that commercial airline pilots have spotted UAPs too. We hear lots of stories of these things. But hey, is everybody lying? Everybody making shit up? That's the question you have to ask. Or is there something to the overpreponderance of stories, anecdotal evidence, if you will? Garcia went on to say there has to be a safe and transparent reporting process for pilots, both on the commercial side and the military side, to be able to report UAPs. And Representative Virginia Fox, Republican from North Carolina, She echoed the calls for more transparency. She noted that Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick, the director of the Pentagon's All Domain Anomaly Research Resolution Office, it's ADAR. Oh, ADARO. I think ADARO, I heard it called once. All Domain Anomaly Resolution Office, had previously told Congress that there was no credible evidence of extraterrestrial life. That was Dr. Sean Kirkpatrick. Now, Grush objected to Kirkpatrick's claim, prompting Fox to say that contradiction is a perfect example of why we need to interject transparency into our government. Boom, bada bing. We need transparency in government, especially, if I may editorialize for a second, in a government that is supposed to be idealistically and in theory of the people, by the people, for the people. They work for us, not us for them. And if we say we want transparency, there should goddamn well better be transparency. It's my thinking. Fourth thing, stigma associated with sightings silences possible witnesses. The stigma of it. Could you imagine? It's like people, you see documentaries like in ghost hunting and stuff. This is Bob Smith's house, and we're going to investigate, but Bob Smith didn't want to come on camera for fear of what his neighbors and his friends and people at work would think of him. There's a stigma attached to coming out. Why is there a stigma? Because people don't believe this stuff really exists. They like to talk about it. They like to drink and talk about these things and have fun with the topics: ghosts, the paranormal, Sasquatch, UFOs. All of those things fall under that category. But if you try to pin them down and say, well, what do you really think about this? Well, they come up with either two answers. Well, I don't believe it. I'm not going to talk about it. Or I'll tell you, but you can't tell anybody I said this. Because they don't want to be stigmatized. Like, oh, that's the guy who's the Sasquatch believer. Hey, bud, do you have Bigfoot in your backyard? Yuck, yuck, yuck. Oh, did an alien come and abduct you? Why is that there? I don't really care. I don't care what people think of me. I don't care what people think of me because I express a political opinion. I don't care what they think of me because I express a faith opinion. I don't care what they think of me because I talk about Bigfoot, ghosts, or UFOs. It's like, look, if all you got to do with your time is find a way to criticize me, fuck off. I don't really care. It doesn't bother me. And I've gotten to the place, I used to be bothered by that stuff. I've undergone enough criticism out there from people for the things I do write about. Nephilim, reptilians, Moses, Bible stuff. I have people that criticize me all the time. And my response is, well, I don't care. You can criticize me all you want. I don't know why it is so important for people to try to stigmatize somebody who believes something that they don't want to believe in, that they choose not to believe in. Go stigmatize yourself in front of a mirror. I really don't care. And so there is stigma. The point is there's stigma associated with sightings that silences possible witnesses. Some witnesses and lawmakers at the hearing argued that the stigma associated with reporting UFO sightings, as well as the alleged harassment of those who work to investigate them, may be hindering efforts to determine their origins. That hinders effort. Why? Because they don't want to talk about it. They're afraid for their job. They're afraid for the label somebody will put on them. And Graves told the panel that stigma silences pilots who fear professional repercussions, which he said is compounded by recent government claims questioning the credibility of eyewitness testimony. Why do they question the credibility? Because they don't want to believe it. And so somebody who is credible, he starts spouting off about how he could lose his job. He is stigmatized. So they shut up. Those are the repercussions that happen. The Federal Aviation Administration has no mechanism for pilots to report UAPs. And there's been many reports by pilots. And instead directs them to civilian groups that are often dismissed as the domain of cranks and conspiracy theorists. Civilian groups are cranks and conspiracy theorists. Those institutional hurdles led Graves to form a first-of-its-kind group that pushes for policy changes and serves as a hub for pilot whistleblowers, advocates for more disclosure by the military and other government agencies. And lawmakers said that they're hoping the hearing will help assuage pilots' fears of speaking out. And let me ask you, could there be anything more important to the human race than learning we are not alone in the universe? That would be like living in the United States and saying, oh, no other countries exist. There's nobody else out there. There's nobody to share technology with. There's nobody we have to worry about wanting to take us over. There's nobody that we need to consider. And if they come exploring us and we find them, we better secret them away so nobody knows another country exists. That's kind of what it would be like. I can't think of anything more important on a human level than knowing whether or not there's other life out there. And if there appears to be evidence of that, don't stifle it. We have the right to know these things. I gotta take a drink. Sorry. Sometimes I tuck my voice into oblivion. I'm trying to use my diaphragm and support my voice. You know, if it sounds like I'm being cocky or like Ted Knight, it's because I'm trying to use my voice properly, so don't wear out my throat. This hearing is not going to end the discussion, said Garcia. But a new chapter should start. And we should encourage more reporting and more study of UAPs, Garcia said. And the more we understand, the safer we are. And the fifth thing that came out is that UFO spotted accelerating to supersonic speeds. David Favor, a former Navy commander, said that he and 3 fellow military pilots spotted a white tic-tac, as they call them, shaped object in 2004. Many of us have seen some of the videos of these things. And it was hovering below their jets and just above the Pacific Ocean. As he descended to inspect the sighting, he claimed the unidentified aircraft, which he said bore no visible rotors, no wings, no exhaust, began to ascend and approach his fighter jet. And he claimed that the UAP then vanished, only to reappear a few seconds later. But this time it was spotted 60 miles away a few seconds later. So Favor told the committee that the technology that he and his team encountered defies logical explanation. And the technology that we faced is far superior to anything we had, Favor exclaimed. And there's nothing we can do about it. Nothing. You get that, folks? There is nothing we can do about it, he said. And I believe he's the one on the panel who said he was being asked about the technology. How more superior would this be? He said it'd be like handing an iPad to a Neanderthal who had absolutely no concept of what this thing was or how it worked. He says that is how far advanced this stuff is. And they describe them as being clear spheres that had square, dark objects inside. And that the points of the cube touched the transparent sphere on all its corners. And that's what this thing looked like. They saw no propulsion, no place for exhaust to come out, nothing. And the thing could move faster than anything we know. So what do you all think of that stuff so far? We've only got a few minutes left at the radio audience. We only got about 9 minutes left at the radio audience. So I've got some other stuff here too. So this is something I called up because I wanted to see more about this. But the whistleblower tells Congress that the U.S. is concealing multi-decade programs that captures UFOs. Now, the U.S. is concealing a long-standing program that retrieves and reverse engineers unidentified flying objects. A former Air Force intelligence officer testified Wednesday, as we've already covered. The Pentagon denies his claims. Bah! Nah, no, we don't. No, we don't. Let me ask you, who you believe? So, the Pentagon officially has denied his claims. So, retired Major David Grush's highly anticipated testimony before the House Oversight Subcommittee, it was the House, I'm sorry, I said Senate earlier, was Congress's latest foray into the world of UFOs. Unidentified aerial phenomena, which is the official term the U.S. government now uses to study UFOs. So, while the study of mysterious aircraft or objects often evokes talk of aliens and little green men, Democrats and Republicans in recent years have pushed for more research as a national security matter due to concerns that sightings observed by pilots may be tied to U.S. adversaries. I'm going to hail back one more time. I've talked about this before. I encourage you to go look this video up on YouTube. Ben Hansen, who is former CIA, he's now in the ghost world, the paranormal. I met Ben at Rolling Hills Asylum for a Ghost Hunters event out there. And back in 2010, I think it was. And he's been on other shows. You've seen him around. And he is, one of his specialties was doing the body language evaluations during interrogations. There was a short-lived series with Tim Roth, British actor who played a doctor who, that was his specialty, was interviewing, interrogating, and testing people for lies. If you've seen that series, you know what I'm talking about. Lie to Me, I think the series was called. Lie to Me. And it's where you can look at different parts of the body. You can look at the eyes, the shift in the eyes, the breathing, the twitching of the lips or the corners of the mouth. Did you know that pursing of the lips, kind of, not pursing, the scrunching together, when somebody's talking, they go, they're not quite sure about what they're talking about, or there's anxiety behind it, or they're thinking real. It's that kind of a thing, only in much more detail. And fingers, elbows, legs, foot shifting in a seat, the way they say things like that. So Ben Hansen he observed an interview with former President Bill Clinton with, I want to say it was Jimmy Kimmel. I don't think it was the other guy, the other Tonight Show guy, Jimmy Kimmel. And this is a few years ago, whether you like Jimmy Kimmel or not, or like President Clinton or not. So he's interviewing him, and Kimmel says, the first thing I wanted to know about you being president, he says, if I was going to be a president, the first thing I would do after I took that oath of office, I'd rush to the Oval Office. I'd get on that phone. I'd say, I want every little bit of piece of information on UFOs. I want to know what's going on. And he asked Clinton about that. And his interview with him was pretty lighthearted before that. And Ben Hansen said, now watch Clinton's body language. He's very comfortable. He's answering questions. He's happy. He's having a good time, etc. Indicated by all these factors in his body language. Then as soon as Kimmel started talking about aliens and UFOs and what the president might know, all of it changed. It was not necessarily, you couldn't look at him and see, oh, he looks nervous. But Ben Hansen stopped the video at several things. He focused in on what Clinton was doing. He says, this indicates this. Doesn't indicate a lie. It indicates very uncomfortable. Doesn't indicate this. It indicates this. And he went through bit by bit by bit. Even though it was a fun, lighthearted interview, he became very comfortable, very secretive during that interview. The big question you ask when you see somebody who's a former president of the United States, a leader of the free world, and he's asked about UFOs, and suddenly he gets, at least noticeably to somebody who's trained to see it, uncomfortable. What's held over the head of a president that he cannot talk about these things? Makes you wonder. I see John Piper just said, He said the secret government within the government that misappropriated money to fund secret studies and programs. There it is. How far did the Hitler experiments go? Are they the master race he was making? I don't know, Elderberry. I don't know. I don't think so. But it's interesting. Anyway, moving on from that. Go look it up. Ben Hansen watching the body language interview with Bill Clinton. If you haven't seen that, it's about 15, 20 minutes long. Worth watching. All right? And it's about UFOs. So, Grush, back to this, the whistleblower, he said that he was asked in 2019, and look at this, we got less than 2 minutes on the radio, and then we'll go to the captain's cabin. And by the way, when we go off air on the radio, everybody listening on the radio, you can come on over to the YouTube, and you can click into the chat room, and we'll talk about this, and we'll open up to calls in the chat room if you've got something to add to this. So, Grush said he was asked in 2019 by the head of a governmental task force on UAPs to identify all highly classified programs relating to the task force's mission. And at the time, Grush was detailed to the National Reconnaissance Office, the agency that operates U.S. spy satellites. He said, I was informed in the course of my official duties of a multi-decade UAP crash retrieval and reverse engineering program to which I was denied access, he said. And asked whether the U.S. government had information about extraterrestrial life, Grush said the U.S. likely has been aware of non-human activity since the 1930s. And he didn't mean likely about the aliens. He meant likely about the dating of it, going back to the 1930s. You're talking, 90 years. So, folks, if you're listening over on the radio, guess what? Oh, it is with a heavy heart I have to tell you we got to get out of here for radio. But you can join us in the captain's cabin. Everybody who is here right now watching, I want you to sit tight. We're going to have a couple of minutes of a break here where we're going to play some trailers and stuff like that. But for the radio audience, live long and prosper. Sit tight.
Join us every weeknight at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, 10 p.m. Eastern. The Intrepid radio program, a Scotty Roberts Productions broadcast.
Hey folks, this is Scotty Roberts, and this is the Intrepid radio broadcast. I've been broadcasting for about 20 years now, covering such topics as science, politics, the paranormal, weird science, weird world history, archaeology, and the paranormal. Everything from ghosts to cryptids to creepy things that go bump in the night. So every week I bring you 3 new episodes. Come and join my channel and also be a patron to this site. So see the details below, and we'll see you here. Hey, Randall Flagg, wake up. Stop rolling yourself to sleep. Ellery is here. I called her in to say hi. She was helping me put up shelves in the master bedroom behind us, closet shelves, a little earlier, just before the show. Came rushing in here. I wish she could give massages, but I mean, she does, but they're kid massages, you know? So I need a good massage, and my massage therapist has gone to camp this week. So that's all. I want you to say hi. How you doing over there? What you up to? I don't know.
I gotta know something.
Okay. So Scotty has the most memorable bourbon. Scotty has the most memorable bourbon road trip. Yes. Oh, all right. Enough of that. Thank you. Whew, man. Okay. Ellery, I got a question for you. Somebody asked, what do you think about aliens and UFOs? Come over here. No pillow. No. I don't want to do that right now. I'm not a killjoy. I just don't want to do that right now. What do you think about aliens? You think there are any? You think they're real?
I don't know.
Too spooky?
No.
Okay. Well, thank you for your input. I know Flynn and Rowan would have a lot to say about him. No pillow right now. Nope, this is not the place for it. Okay? I'm not a killjoy, just not here. So, all right. Yeah, way too fast. Hey, here's Uncle John. Uncle John, how you doing?
Pretty good. How's it going, Scotty?
Good, man. How are you doing? What's going on? What's new? What's shaking?
I was just thinking that your music falls somewhere between Lost in Space and Star Trek.
It does, kind of. I think that's why I chose it. So I'm always drawn to that stuff. So what do you think about alien life and UFOs?
I've always been able
That's Mr.
to
Spock.
not discount it.
Mhm.
We'll have to wait and see. But
Yeah.
I remember the first time I saw one of those Cowboys and Aliens, I think was the title of the.
Yeah, I remember that one.
And I'm going like, oh, that's just the. No, it's not.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty well done. Daniel Craig was in that.
Yeah, who knows of what time somebody's going to interact with a society.
That's it. And, did it happen 4,000 years ago? Did it happen 6,000, 8,000 years ago? The beginning of 12,000 years ago? At the beginning of civilization as we know it? Which started a lot earlier than we think.
Mhm.
Places like Göbekli Tepe and so on.
There's a number that keeps getting pushed back. We constantly are finding that they're going, oh, they could do that then? We didn't think they could do that for another 2,000 years.
Right.
Oh, see,
And
the way his clothing was manufactured was supposedly something we didn't know how to do at that time period.
right. That's the Ice Age man. Where'd they find him? Somewhere in the Alps.
Murdered in the Alps.
Yep. And they didn't know he was murdered at first either.
No.
They thought he maybe fell asleep and froze to death. And now they've found wounds on him. And so very interesting. I saw a documentary done of that.
Yeah.
Some reenactments and stuff. It was very interesting. So if you know who we're talking about, folks. So I see we have Matthew Sainsbury. Captain Barbados is here. Let's bring him in. How you doing, Matthew?
Not too bad. Good night,
Captain.
Yeah.
What you doing, man?
I'm glad you're discussing this topic though, because I wasn't really following the international news recently, but I've heard people call me and tell me that they were discussing this topic a little bit more than usual on briefings and so, you know.
Sure.
There's a guy on YouTube called Robert Odin. He's a ufologist, but he passed recently, but he was used to work for the US government. He also was into secret projects, and so he didn't want to declassify so much. But as he grew older, and he had this document that said that he's very called the assessment, and it revealed that this planet has been visited by several different extraterrestrial entities throughout human history. And he said that, there's some technology they have is beyond what we can really able to even grasp or anything like that, And, in the latter part of his life, he did stress and got a little annoyed that the government has been sitting on this topic for so long, and just suppressing it all the time and not revealing it, because he reveals, like, there's something called UPARTs, which are out-of-place objects that should be in paintings. You can look at some of the earliest paintings of Jesus and the Madonna and stuff, and you have flying objects in the background there.
Sure. Sure.
There's even a painting of Jesus on the cross in Yugoslavia in 1350, and you have a guy driving a flying saucer spaceship. What is that doing in the painting?
Yeah, pretty crazy stuff. I think that was supposed to be like their rendition of angels or something, but
yeah,
how they explain it. But that looks an awful lot like he's riding a needle-nosed spacecraft.
Yes, so, I think there's more than one of them. I think there's one that goes one direction, and there's another one in another direction, and you have the angels separate. So there has to be something else. It can't be angels. So,
Elderberry brings up Valiant Thor. Very interesting story about that guy. And if you've ever seen him, he in his old pictures, that guy looked the way the actor who played Klaatu in The Day the Earth Stood Still. He had that look to him. Very clean cut, very pristine, movie in the 50s. And he had that look and feel to him. Now, jury's out on him. Did they ever find anything out about who that guy really was? The people with him? They seem to be like perfect specimens of humanity, physically speaking, and intelligent. And they said they were aliens, and they had met with people in Congress and all this. It was back in I want to say it was the 50s. But I don't know whatever happened to him. Valiant Thor, I had read about that. I was going to do a show on him, and I just never pursued it yet. But very interesting. I don't know if he, was debunked, or he went off and bought a farm somewhere and lived the rest of his life. I have no clue. Or if he just disappeared off the planet, which is possible too. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, because there's an account too there that said that Dwight David Eisenhower, the president, he had a fake or something, that he secretly had a meeting with extraterrestrials. Right. Yeah, I've heard that conspiracy theory about, because Jimmy Carter too, he had an encounter where he saw something in the sky, and when he became president, and so he wanted to declassify the UFO topic, but he was silenced in the way that someone actually said it's actually saw him starting to weep or something like that in a private briefing thing. So yeah, this stuff has been suppressed long.
Yeah.
So,
and by the way, Valiant Thor, he lived in the Pentagon for a while. Let's see. I want to just see here. I just put in the question, whatever happened to him? And now there's a band. It calls up a band by the name of Valiant Thor. Stranger at the Pentagon. The bonkers story of the alien guest at the Pentagon. What happened to Valiant Thor? Oh, this is a TikTok. I don't want to watch that. Not looking for a video. I was just looking for something. Is there like an obituary for him or anything? Yeah. Couldn't find anything. I have to look it up. We'll talk about that some other time. But
there's another guy too who vanished. They can't find him, called Ambrose Bierce. And if you ever heard of him, he was a writer at one time. Yeah, he fought in the Civil War. He got shot in his head, and the bullet went from one side and entered the other side. He became a famous writer, but I think he went into, say he was going to go to Mexico or something after the Civil War. And it said that he was never heard from again and never found him. Some people wonder if he actually stepped into another dimension or something like that, So our planet is
don't
more
know.
stranger than what we can think or even fathom.
Elderberry's got a book written by Thor, How to Live Long and Prosper, Valiant Thor. Yeah, it's he was an interesting character. There was some debunking of him, but we'll make a show out of it. We'll look it up. We'll make a show out of it. We'll talk about it on another night. I didn't think I'd have time to even think about him, so I didn't. So, so there you go, Matthew. Good. I'm glad you're enjoying the discussion on this.
Thanks.
I think there's a lot more to talk about because while we may have congressional hearings going on right now, or House committee going on it right now, this is a much bigger, deeper topic with so many tendrils out there, so many groups, so many people that don't even that all this is official people coming up and whistleblowing. That's not even the tip of the iceberg of the story. So anyway. So anybody else out there? Anybody else have anything they want to add to this? Call into the number. And otherwise, but Sarah Yusuf is here. Hold on. Now we're getting there. Now we're going to get something. Here we go. Sarah, how you doing?
Hey guys.
Good evening, Sarah.
Hello.
I just saw you there. I don't know how long you've been waiting. So.
It's okay. So
what do you think? What's on your mind?
Well, I mean, first of all, I do believe that there is extraterrestrial life out there. I mean, there are even some theories. If you look at the Drake equation, which is supposed to measure how much the likely probability of other life actually being out there, and et cetera, et cetera. But you brought an interesting point up in the beginning, and it says, like, let's say we have, alien ship shows up over the Capitol, and it's like full disclosure. I mean, it's there, everybody can see it. Versus whatever the government is dripping down to us about. Well, if it's there, what does that mean for people's faith? Because for me, it doesn't really affect my faith in God or anything. But I mean,
mine either.
Yeah, mine either. So I mean, why would it affect people's faith in such a way? I mean, having that
systems
into it. Versus would it start the belief that Jesus was an alien and he was ascended into a UFO?
Right,
or
that.
some other theories that seem a bit outlandish, rather to accept. In the overall, it's about what are people willing to accept, as far as ideas and concepts and all that. And it's what I guess at least in the paranormal circles, they talk about how we're not ready to listen and this and that. It's having an open enough mindset to accept any idea or virtual, whether it's alien life or something else.
Right.
Seems out of the thing. So a lot of it is going to be about acceptance of what's out there. And with human nature, it's always about we always want to know more and more and more versus that okay, if we do have disclosure, is it going to happen within our lifetime?
Right.
As most people are concerned.
You would hope so at this point.
In front of us. Yeah.
I'm getting old. I want to have alien disclosure before I'm too old to enjoy it.
Right. And have those "I told you so" moments.
Yeah.
After years and years of being dismissed and ridiculed. The justification of that, which always comes with with people who have hold certain belief systems.
John, you look like you're poised to say something.
I've always believed that the reticence to share things comes from an elite and governmental attitude that we're too dumb to govern ourselves.
Right.
And if we aren't buying everything they tell us to do, we're not smart enough to know all the things they know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Good point.
That's like, and again, I'm not picking on Sean at all. Sean, if you're still there, I'm picking on the argument that I've heard that, this is all just a distraction to distract the public mind from other things going on. And I think there are some things that happen that do that. I think January 6th was a distraction. But that's a real distraction. Talking about UFOs while we have investigations on the Bidens going on, or while Trump is being indicted, or while they're talking about our tax dollars or the military or China or whatever it might be, that's just another thing on the list. To me, it's big. It's a big question. I think it's a very big
it's been there for a while.
but it's to me, it's not a distraction. What's it distracting from? I'm almost like the Biden investigation distracts from this question, the alien question, because it's a bigger question.
Yeah.
So that's what I think.
Yeah, and it leads to one question will lead to 5 other questions, and it's like you guys were discussing earlier about tax dollars. Where is our defense money going to? I mean, is it not being appropriate allocated to where it's supposed to be going?
Yeah.
So that comes to
Susie Q, I understand your point over there. They're not going to give us anything significant right now. It's all BS. It's about distracting from the big guy. Well, I think that we all know about the big guy. We all know what's going on already. That's all being revealed at the same time. I wouldn't be distracted from understanding what's going on with Biden corruption because they talk about UFOs. Yeah, and we all know they're real, Susie Q says. That doesn't mean they're going to tell us anything. Well, they might not. This is why I'm wondering how safe this guy Grush is anymore. Of course, if he were to disappear now, it would be too coincidental. But how many months before you hear, David Grush killed in a car accident, while walking his dog? I don't
Aspirin
know.
overdose.
Yeah. Died of...
but the video cameras were out.
Died of suicide with 2 gunshots to the back of his head. So...
But
so
the Majestic 12, that was a group that Harry Truman began there after the Roswell crash, and one of the members I saw in a documentary, they want to say that he committed suicide or something like that. But there's some questions about that where they saw evidence that might have been a struggle. That he might have been pushed off the balcony instead of he being committed suicide. One of the members of the Majestic 12. So some people wonder if he was going to bring out information that they were covering up and to try to get rid of him to stop him from saying anything about it.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's a very deep thing.
And there are people I know. Let me amend that. People I know of, some I know that have experienced things that are like the whole Men in Black thing.
Men in Black, right.
And we poo-poo those things as modern urban mythology of some kind. But I know people who have experienced those things. And very good people. Somebody I know, a woman I know, and we were talking about all this stuff back in the 90s. And sometime in the late 90s, early 2000s, she was very well placed in the UFO community, knew all the people, introduced me to people like Stanton Friedman, Lena Moulton Howe, people like that. So she was very well known, very well placed. And I've talked about her before. She was seeing a guy that said he was part of a organization in New Mexico outside of Albuquerque that had, dozens of stories deep, a facility out in the desert that housed
Area 51,
alien, like a spaceport, to use a lighter phrase for it, like the lighthearted thing you see in Men in Black. That's done to be lighthearted. That's a distraction. That's done to be lighthearted to distract people from the fact that it's probably real. And so they use, animated aliens and stuff like that. But this guy made those claims. I talked to Stanton Friedman about him. He said jury's out on the guy. He said he knows things he really ought not know. And blah, blah, blah. And so this conversation went on that way. Well, my friend, within a year or so of that, and some of the things that she knew and was working on, she got the Men in Black visit more than once. And it scared her enough. She called me one morning about 5 a.m. and was crying because she didn't know who else to call. She said she had this experience where they told her in no uncertain terms, you're going to drop this research you're doing. They didn't say what they would do, but they told her, you need to stop this. And you don't want to find out what will happen if you don't. And she was followed. She had them at her house. They would come and surveil her. And once she was driving, and she had the little red lights, the dots from military weapons, laser armament eyesight. What's the word I'm looking for? Laser
sights.
Yes, laser sight. Just sight.
Actually, mine are green.
Or green, yeah. Hers, the ones she saw were red. And then she got home, and they were coming through her window on her, focusing on her. And I don't know what I don't think she called the police or anything, but she just was scared to death. Dawn came, nothing had happened. She called me and said she was absolutely scared to death. Now, this is somebody I've talked to her in recent years. We're still friends. But after that incident, which is about 25 years ago, 23 to 25 years ago that happened, she left UFO research completely and has never darkened the door of it again. And she said, I'm just done. I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. And she left. I've had people who believed they were poisoned, had strokes. Young men, younger than I am, 15 years younger than I am, had a stroke. Wrote the book UFO Highway, Anthony F. Sanchez. Through a big UFO event back in 2012 that Micah Hanks and I went to and were guests at. And he, after writing this book and in this research, he had a couple of times his house broken into, all his expensive IT equipment, because that's what he did for a living. Nothing touched except all of his computer files on UFO research. Gone. And he still had backups. Then he ended up, he had what he thought was a stroke. And I mean, the whole side of his face was drooped. Yeah. Young man. And he comes to find out with the research, and I don't know all the ins and outs. I'd have to have Anthony on to talk about it. But, he said they found in all the testing they did on him, something in his system that was a manufactured poison made out of blowfish poison. And he said, where the hell would I get blowfish poison in my system? Not raw blowfish poison, a manufactured poison. I don't know how they determined that, but it had some of those, the characteristics of that. And he did get better. His face got better. I think he's healed from that now, but it took him a couple of years to recover from that. And he wrote an obituary in Intrepid magazine back when I was publishing the magazine for a guy that had been killed, and a UFO researcher. And there was something about him. I don't remember the story. I didn't remember the guy's name. Other than that, once again, it was a suicide with 2 bullets to the back of his head. but ruled a suicide by the police. And it was this guy, and there's all kinds of stories like that. So, what is it that people are hiding so badly that they will do these things? This is just some of the people I know. Hundreds of people I don't know. So what is it about that stuff that makes it so damned secretive? So there's questions to ask. This will open a can of worms. I think the only people to answer it would be aliens themselves. Why is it the aliens are entangled with the government? Why didn't they come to some guy over on Maple Lane over there and say, "Hey, let's do a live stream"?
That's an interesting choice of phrase, Maple Lane.
Yes. Yes.
Twilight Zone.
Yes. That's Maple Lane is right around the corner here. So, so it's interesting.
I think that the going to average people sort of thing, it shows like a level of where these aliens are not really conscious of our culture in
Yes.
terms of government,
Yes.
or whatnot, because again, with all the secrecy and it's like the new version of the space race and on how to
Yes.
not declassify but deconstruct alien technology.
Yeah. We lost John.
Strategic
like.
advantages. So why we may hide it from our foreign adversaries such as Putin and whoever, because once full disclosure happens, somebody's going to have to come out and become ambassador for our world.
Yeah,
to
the
represent us if
liaison,
we're
the
in
ambassador,
contact. Right.
Yeah.
So who is it going to be? The U.S.? Is it going to be Putin?
Right.
Is it going to be Xi Jinping or Kim Jong Un or
Well,
France
what do you
or
think?
whatever?
What do you think would happen to look at world politics nowadays? Superpowers, enemies, who's trying to run the world, conquer the world, whatever it might be. What do you think would happen to that if we were all made aware that we're the new kids on the block and the small fry on the block? What do you think that would do to us?
It's that phrase, the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it would be definitely a unifying event if you're
Yes.
humanity versus, extraterrestrials. Because even, Stephen Hawking, when he was alive, he said that more than likely the aliens that are going to be coming to Earth are not going to be, ET friendly, where,
Right.
ET phone home type of
Right.
but
I saw a documentary with a
aliens.
bunch of guys like Hawking, and I couldn't give you the names. It was
Yeah.
a few years ago I saw this, but they were all speculating on what alien contact would look like, and they were all pretty much of the consensus. It would be like Indians facing conquistadors.
Right. So I
They
mean,
all
they would
had
either
that.
be looking to either conquer or take something away from our resources. There's some theories that aliens like gold, for their technology,
Yes.
or some sort of precious metals or something within
Right.
the human construct or the human energy, the human
Well,
energies
wasn't
that were
that
created.
if you go back to our own human mythology that we know of, look at the Anunnaki.
Right.
So much ado about the Anunnaki.
Hmm.
But they were, the race that existed in ancient Mesopotamia, Sumer Akkad area, and pre-Judaism, pre-Hebraic religion, pre-Jehovah. And what did they, in that culture, their creation story, very similar to ours. I think that's where Moses got the Garden of Eden story, by the way. Sorry, folks. He studied that stuff. and that story was written on the Anunnaki 1,500 years before Moses wrote about Genesis. And what did they have? The chief god created the first humans, and but he enslaved them. And what was the story there? The story was they were to till the ground and mine the resources for them, and minerals and things like that, and dig the canals and stuff like that. And that man rebelled, and that it was Enki, the brother god, that they called out to, the king Atrahasis, in the tale of Atrahasis, calls out to him and says, help deliver us from enslavement to the Anunnaki, the Anu. And Enki came down and helped them, and they won their freedom. But Enki is then cast out of the courts of Enlil, the chief god, into the subterranean caverns of the earth to dwell forever with him and his followers. Fast forward 1,500 years, you got Moses writing about God made man, put him in a beautiful garden, and told him also to till the ground and keep it for him, and forbade the one tree, and then man falls, and it's supposed to be Nakash, the serpent character, that Nakash was the one who said, in some circles is written as the hero, the one who reveals to mankind who they really are. And so you see these similarities. Enlil, the chief god, Enlil, he was the chief god of the Anunnaki. And Enki, also known as Ea, was the brother god to the Anu. And later in history, 1,500 years later, in the Canaanites, Enlil became El, or Elil became El. Enki, Ea became Yahweh, Jehovah. And the tale of the creation was all transmuted into the biblical story. So here's the question. Which story came first? Well, the Anu story came first. But how far back does this go? What is the real situation? What religion? You could ask what religion is the real religion. I don't know if there is one. And it's stuff like that makes you wonder and ask if one religion, Moses, took the information from another religion and rewrote it, or was there a common source that they both took it from? There's the big question. So,
and there's also, cyclical nature that you even see, in the Abrahamic religions, pre-Christianity, in Judaism, you talk about, Prophet Elijah, or the book of Judges, all the tribes of the 13 tribes of Israel had their own, prophets or teachers that would, lead them to do, attack another tribe, or, live in a certain area, or how to live their lives out. So, I mean, it's sort of like the same story, but it's twisted, or the same cyclical nature of
twisted, yeah.
But
so
whether it's got a biblical slant, or if it's trying to retell of something older.
So there's the questions, and this all comes out of this. These are big questions. Is it the Baptists will tell you it's all a lie of Satan to distract you from Jesus. The Catholics might say there's room for other religions or other species out there. So I don't know exactly what the truth is. Oh, is that for me? Oh, it's for Mom. Here, look. This is what she did. She said, "Look what I did." This is she cut that out of the cardboard.
Oh.
So I said, "Oh, is that for me?" No, it's for Mom. Mom's home tomorrow from camp, so there you go. Yeah, you need to add more stuff. So somebody's coughing up a goat in the other room. So anyway, it's good questions. It's good if you haven't seen the hearings on this stuff, go look it up on YouTube, watch some of the hearings. Very interesting stuff. I think there should be a lot more done. At the same time, find out more from other sources. You aren't going to hear everything in these congressional hearings. So, and that's all I have to say about that. So, there we go. I think we're going to wrap it for tonight.
Sounds
I got to
good.
put a little kid to bed.
Yeah.
And at the same time, we've exhausted what we can talk about this tonight without opening new cans of worms and going much further. So, but we'll do more of this kind of talk later. So, Sarah, thanks for being here.
Sure.
Thanks for your input.
Anytime.
I appreciate it. All right. I'll talk to you soon.
All right. See
All
you,
right,
Scott.
bye-bye. Everybody else, thank you. John, thanks for being here. And Captain Barbados, thanks for being on tonight. And everybody else, thank you for being here for the show. I appreciate your presence. Go check out my Patreon. If you can afford to give me a cup of coffee a month, go on over and do it over on my Patreon. That will help us build more. I was going to say something else, but it sounded too Biden. And build better. No, not that. Just build up this show and the things that we do. So thank you for being here. Thank you for giving me your time. Everybody, you have a good night, and I will see you again on Sunday morning. Likely, I will see you again on Sunday morning. I don't see any reason that I won't see you on Sunday morning. So take care. Have a good Saturday. Live long and prosper.